Ah, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Black Man Speak. I'm your co-host, the amazing DJ Stewart.
And I'm your co-host, Tommy D. Duncan III, otherwise known as TD3. It is Wednesday, April the 1st, 2026, April Fool's Day. And if it's Wednesday night,
It's certainly Black Man Speak. So let's give a shout out to Forest Films in our own studio for helping support the show. If you haven't already, please hit that like button, help us with the YouTube algorithm, and hit the notification bell so you can be notified when new shows are uploaded, which is every night at every Wednesday at 9 p.m. after the show concludes here live. And if you're watching the show live, invite a friend, a family member, a coworker, a neighbor, or a frenemy so you have something interesting to talk about for the rest of the week.
folks,
That
we
being
have
said, time to do what we do best.
all right. We have a action-packed show tonight. We're going to talk about some interesting developments in the D.C. metro area, where we've got a pack of teams who are running around like wolves, and it's getting kind of interesting out there. So we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on there. Florida finds arsenic in the candy. Oh my God! So we're going to talk about what we need to know and what parents need to know. Tiger Woods, who some might call Tiger Woo, is in a little PR drama again over a DUI and a car crash. Well, we're going to have to unpack this and talk about what the lessons are learned from that. Of
Okay?
course, we're going to have the continuation from our predictions last week. We were talked about the Sweet 16. Now it's down to the Final Four on the men's and women's basketball. So we're going to talk about our picks and our predictions in the Final Four. And we're going to talk a little bit of business as well for those of you out there who follow tech and or business. Probably the largest privately owned company in the world. Well, maybe one of the largest private owned companies in the world got a massive round of funding. So we'll talk briefly about that, and then we'll wrap it up for this evening, folks.
Sounds good, Tom.
Before we do that, though, we do have to take a moment to share our condolences with a few folks that we've lost over the last few weeks. One of which I've missed from a couple of weeks ago, Lafayette Bernard, who was one of our civil rights activists back in the day. And then for those of you who probably watched NFL football back in the 70s and 80s, we've lost another Hall of Famer. So we will share a brief moment of silence to acknowledge and recognize these two gentlemen.
Okay?
I don't know if you remembered Joey Browner back in the day, Jimmy, when the Minnesota Vikings had that vaunted defense.
I remember watching Minnesota a few times. They played the Cowboys, but back then I didn't follow them very closely.
Gotcha. Well, Joey Browner was a part of that. I think they called them the Purple People Eaters.
Yeah, the Purple People Eaters, man. Yeah, that was a monstrous defense.
Gotcha. Back in the day. And then, of course, Bernard Lafayette, civil rights organizer and activist, kind of a behind the scenes guy, worked with the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, worked with SNCC and a lot of other folks. So he wasn't one of the face men that you saw in the civil rights movements, Dr. King, Ralph Abernathy, and that layer. But, they were the brains behind a lot of the organizing and the planning for a lot of the movements that SCLC, SNCC, and a lot of other organizations did. So, we have definitely lost two very high-profile giants with our community. And, of course, we want to offer our condolences to their family members, friends, and those who they have impacted in one way or another, which especially for Lafayette, probably includes all of us in some capacity.
Okay.
All right, let's go ahead and get started with a little business news before we get to the fun and spicy part. For those of you out there, of course, who, if your head hasn't completely been in the ground, you've probably heard of AI, intelligence, and Chat GPT. Of course, really created by this company called OpenAI, who just received a massive $122 billion round of funding that is going to be driving the AI boom for the next several years, Jimmy. And you know, we haven't done any business news in quite a while, but when I saw this, I was like, well, at least have to give it an honorable mention. But the likes of Amazon, who everybody has heard of, NVIDIA, who most people have heard of, and SoftBank, behind the scenes, but does a lot of funding of tech companies, has invested into this as well, Jimmy. And so they have a 875 billion, that's 875 billion with the B, valuation currently.
Wow. In terms of OpenAI actually started as a response to some of the private AI companies. Now, this is sort of sort of like open source AI. And look where they are now. You said over $800 billion market evaluation, and they just got a round of funding for over $100 billion. Tom, I would imagine that the entire continent of Africa doesn't even make $100 billion a year. All they do is maybe close. And one company, one AI company can raise that, not what they're worth, to raise that um, in a round of funding.
The reason this is important, folks, is, you know, in some way or another, I think all of our lives have been touched by AI, whether it's personal or business. Most companies now have, over the last, you know, few to several years, have been figuring out what their AI strategy is. Whether you're talking about using Chat GPT just to kind of get answers to questions that you may have. But the simple part of it is when you look at AI, it is a tool that automates technology, it automates business processes. And so what OpenAI does is it provides a subscription model that can be used by individuals like you and me, Jimmy, or anyone out there,
Right.
in addition to an enterprise model for small and larger companies that will power their next generation of technology, Jimmy. And we're just really scratching the surface on what AI can do. There are a lot of interesting things that it does, but then, of course, with anything like this, there are also hazards out there as well. And so, when you look at it from a consumer perspective, there's one thing. If you look at it from an investor's perspective, there's another thing. And by the way, folks, this is a private company, and it is not. You can't buy shares on the public market like
Yeah,
the New York
they're
Stock
in
Exchange.
private.
But part of Amazon's funding of this project was tied to it going IPO in the future. I think about $35 billion of it. So it'll be very interesting. They have already committed $1.4 trillion in spend in developing AI over the next several years. And Jimmy, this is staggering, but they generate $2 billion in revenue a month.
Wow.
2 billion with a B.
That's not too shabby, Tom.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. So we will definitely keep our eyes on this, see what happens. It'll be interesting to see if and when it IPOs, and I think, you know, not too long after that, it's got to be probably going to be one of the most valuable companies in the world if and when it does IPO.
Well, that is true because you look at companies that are valued that high. Of course, I think Apple kind of tipped the $1 trillion mark last year, a year before. At some point, they went over $1 trillion, but Walmart wasn't far behind them. Amazon is up there. I know Elon Musk's personal wealth is up there over $800 billion. So yeah, these are staggering numbers, Tom. And I know they're continuing to build data centers. And at some point, I think someone said in the next 10 years that the AI data centers we're gonna be using about one-fourth of the world's power just to drive them, keep them going.
And there are consequences to that as well when you look at all of these data centers that are going to be built, the amount of power that's going to be required to drive these data centers. So, I mean, this is something kind of put your head in the sand in it. Or another, you're going to be impacted by directly and or indirectly in the future. Even though you have more of their products, it's probably in your best options on your life because whether you're someone who's going out looking for a job, whether you're a small business, whether you are a large multi-billion-dollar corporation, you know, if you don't understand how this is going to affect your business, your economy, and your future, you're going to be left behind. Because when you
That
have,
is true, Tom, and even down to kids.
okay, looks like we just lost Jimmy. He should be back in just a moment. All right, we lost you there.
Okay.
We lost you there for a second.
So what I was saying was, kids are using AI to write their term papers, to do their research, whether they read the book and do the research themselves. Even adults are using it to rewrite resumes, to write cover letters, introduction letters for employment purposes. I think people probably using that work to write their reports. So at some point, you're either going to learn AI, know how to do the prompts, to generate the materials that you need, or you're going to fall behind. Those who are using it. So one way or the other, you're going to get on board, you're going to get left behind. And this is an amazing amount of time if you think about it. You have all these users out here pumping questions to AI. AI has access to all of the databases, all the information on the internet. And when it doesn't have directly, it can go out there and scrub it and look for it. But then as it compiles more answers to your questions, it builds up its own database, own knowledge base, with every question becomes a new knowledge entry in the database. So it's getting smarter and smarter in the things they can do, from weather prediction to genetic engineering to even material engineers are using it to design. I heard of a company, a China company in China, a car company in China that use AI to develop a new metal material where they can incorporate the battery instead of having a battery pack at the bottom of the car, to incorporate the battery in the material of the car itself. So the skin of the car, the whole frame of the car is all just one big battery that they forge with this new material. So the things that are being done with AI is remarkable. It's only going to grow and exponentially and get better. Like I said, every time you ask the question, it goes on and gives an answer. It now knows that answer, retains that answer, and can use it for the next person. And that knowledge builds on itself. Uh, Militaries are using AI instead of having pilots in the plane. They're building AI into the plane and do the damn dogfighting for them. So if you shoot the plane down, okay, you lost a $30 million jet, but most likely AI jet against a person piloting a human jet, a jet itself, the AI is going to think faster, quicker, use less ammunition, and probably is going to win that fight 95% of the time.
And that's the concern that, of course, a lot of people have is when AI and the platforms that it is built on is going to make human beings not completely obsolete, but very significant sectors of the human genome obsolete in terms of competition and ability to perform. Because AI gets smarter and smarter by the second.
That is true, Tom. So, I mean, at some point, especially with the folks who are working on the robotics technology, so if you can combine a human sort of like robot that has built-in AI, um, then you have something that's really powerful that can go to work in the factories, that can clean houses, that can do all kinds of jobs without taking a break, without taking vacation, without asking for a pay raise. And it may be over for human workers at that point, other than digging, and picking up trash. I just don't know what job a robot with AI behind it can't do these days in the office.
Jimmy, I will tell you this. My father, as I think I've shared with our audience before and with you personally as well, had hip replacement surgery this past January, on January
Right,
the
I
13th,
remember.
to be exact. And I talked to the orthopedic surgeon before my father went into the surgery, and he made it very clear, unequivocally, without even blinking, that it actually was going to be a robot who was completing the hip replacement surgery. All he was doing is monitoring and
Yep,
managing if he had to intervene. And if you can consider the amount of sophistication and pinpoint accuracy that it requires to complete a hip replacement surgery
very
or a knee
complicated.
replacement surgery, what it what is it that it can't do? I know some of you, if you've been around long enough, may have seen this movie with Will Smith back in the day called I, Robot.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
closer than we think, folks.
that's that was one of the robot series written by Asimov, the Russian physicist, who became a sci. But yeah, Tom, a lot of surgeries are done by robots now, especially a lot of general surgery. And just imagine if you're a surgeon, you could probably do maybe two surgeries a day. You know, probably on a practical level. But if all you have to do is monitor the surgery, and the robots are doing the surgery, then you can just stand there. You don't have to stand there. You can really watch from a monitor and keep an eye on things, and you'll be available to run and step in if you have to. But yeah, Tom, there are not that many jobs that the robotics won't be able to take over at some point.
Facts. Facts. All right, folks, we'll continue to keep an eye on this, and of course, we'll give updates like this and other ones in the future for folks who need to know. Let's talk next about what's going on in Florida, Jimmy. So this, I had not heard about this before you told me about it, but they are finding arsenic in the candy in Florida. Jimmy, what's going on out there?
Tom, it was disappointing when I saw this story because I'm a big chocolate and nuts person. And I love my Snicker bars, but for health reasons I can't eat them anymore because I have to watch my sugar levels. I don't want to go back into a pre-diabetic or diabetic state. So, but back in the day, I loved Snicker bars, eat them all the time. Tom, the report said that the Snicker bar was the worst one of all. There's enough
What?
arsenic in one Snicker bar that exceed what you should consume in the whole year. In the
Okay,
3 months,
Jimmy. So I guess my question is this: Snickers was one of my favorite. Now I don't eat candy bars like I used to when I was younger, but Snickers was my absolute
it was my
favorite candy bar.
absolute favorite, man. Yeah, so this is just more of an incentive not to eat it when there's enough arsenic in there to exceed a year's safety level. In the Three Musketeer bar, three of them. Uh, Tom, when you go through the report, the only damn candy bar that was damn near safe was a Reese's peanut butter cup. And how can you go wrong with chocolate and just peanut butter?
How did this come about? How long has this been going on, or do we know?
My question, the better question is, how does the damn FDA allow food companies to get away with putting poison in our damn food? I mean, we find
Other than they
petroleum
don't care?
products, all kinds of strange dyes, wood chips, all kind of damn things in the damn food supply today. Now you got arsenic and mercury in the food, in the fish. So, Tom, if we don't get back to getting in the kitchen and start shopping and buying food with one ingredient, meat, vegetable, fruit, not all these chemicals that you can't pronounce, you want to start making food yourself so you know exactly what's in it. The food's going to slowly kill you. And then when you get sick, those same food companies are owned by the pharmaceutical companies, which are owned by the cigarette companies, are going to sell you the medicine to keep you alive until your body just can't take it one day and you just croak.
Well, the question is, I mean, I know that, a lot of, I mean, all different types of food allegedly is tested by the FDA. So how is it that we're just finding out that there's arsenic in all these candy bars? Is somebody paying somebody under the table and they just been looking the
No,
other way?
so this is how it works with the FDA. When the FDA started, there was already a food supply. So it wasn't like we started eating food when they developed the FDA. And so what happened was Congress built into the rules of the FDA that foods that we were already eating, already acceptable, that considered safe, got grandfathered in. So like you didn't have to go recertify salt or sugar, or other things. So once an item is deemed safe by the FDA, they don't have to recertify that in the next food, no matter how they mix it up. Or a lot of the ingredients now, like the stuff they put in candy now, all they have to do is say, "Wait a minute, these are all ingredients that were grandfathered in." So they don't have to go test it. You don't have to go get it scrutinized. The state of Florida just happened to decide to go test the candies, a bunch of different candies, and found this out. But this is how they're able to get poisonous into our food supply because they're already in there before they got grandfathered in. So if it's grandfathered in, you don't have to go get recertified or retested. You can just say, hey, this was something that was already approved to be safe and part of the food supply. So this is how we can put it in now.
So I guess that begs the question, how many other dangerous chemicals are
A
in
lot.
the food supply that we're not aware of? If we're not aware of what's even in candy that is primarily consumed by children.
So here's another one. So hold on to your seat. Chicken nuggets, which you think are just chicken with bread on it that you can throw into a deep fry or a hot air cooker. Tom, to qualify for chicken nugget, it only has to have 51% chicken in it. The other 49% to be whatever the food company wants it to be. Starches, a lot of times it's wood chips. There's other things to help give a little richness and flavor and coloring. The time I've actually found out that the grilled chicken sandwich at McDonald's is not even grilled. Those grill marks on chicken sandwich are painted on. Those are fake grill marks. But they can get away with calling it a grilled chicken sandwich when you don't even. So there's a lot of deception. This is why I just stopped eating out, period, especially fast food. Um, Occasionally, the wife and I may go to a restaurant, but we've just given up on fast food time because you don't know what's in it. We try to stick to single ingredients products, meat, vegetables. If we eat bread ourselves, we eat pasta, we make our own pasta at home. It takes a little bit more time, but I know exactly what's in the food that we're cooking because we make the food ourselves and then eat it. What's on those shelves now have so many preservatives, so many have chemicals in it, and all those chemicals are slowly destroying our gut biome. And when you destroy that, your health is going to go quickly after that.
And we wonder why they're in the United States, the most powerful country in the world, allegedly, has the worst track record when it comes to autoimmune disease, cancers, diabetes, um, all these different types of health anomalies. But
And notice how many countries don't import our food around the world. Or they
right,
do accept our food, we have to reconstitute the formulas. Like the Europeans don't take our cereal, because of the dyes and petroleum products that we have in the cereal. But somehow it's okay for our kids to eat, but it's not okay for the European kids to eat. In Canada, a lot of the Asian countries don't take our food. If they do, they'll take meat, maybe corn, stuff that's sort of naturally grown. But as far as processed foods, they stay away from it.
well, I guess that stands the reason why so many of our young people are bloated, sick. I don't recall when I was in school where you had kids who had type 2 diabetes, and that's become very common today. You look at our high schools, not colleges, but high schools, you got kids weighing 250 to 300 pounds. That was unheard of when we were coming into school. So I guess the question is, Jimmy, as a concerned parent, as a consumer who wants to maintain your family's health, where do you go to research and find out about these things so you can try to ensure that your family has as healthy a food as possible so that you can maintain your health and your longevity?
Time I think we say that to next week. I'm setting up a website called carbfree.living. So it's not carbfree.com, but carbfree.living. So it's still being constructed. So part of it is up now. And there's another health website that the wife has put together, thelifestyle360.com. But that's more of a longevity website. So some information will be available. But when you just mentioned that, Tom, the wife and I just had a conversation earlier today or yesterday, and I was telling her that I can't. When I was growing up, I can't remember obese kids. And I was trying to think through middle school, junior high, even through high school. We had a few people that were kind of on the chubby side, but not like the kids or the days were just outright obese.
It is the norm. It's the norm.
And I remember a doctor, he was a fourth generation family doctor, who said his great grandfather never treated a patient who had diabetes. His grandfather had a few adult patients who had diabetes. His father, who was a doctor who took over the family practice, had a few adults and children who were diabetic. But Tom, he said now he's taking over the practice. He's a fourth generation doctor in his family. Over half his patients of family practice are children and adults who have diabetes. Half.
And it's interesting that we're having this conversation because I've talked to several people who travel a lot internationally. And one of the things that they acknowledge to me is that when they're outside of the United States, the food supply, and I'm not saying in every country, but in most countries, within a week, probably at most, they can tell the difference in how they feel and how they look just eating food outside of the United States, whether it's losing weight, their energy level, their vitality. Within a week, if not less, they can tell that the food is dramatically different, it's dramatically cleaner, and it's dramatically healthier in even third world countries, allegedly third world, so-called third world countries.
Tom, I have since semi-retired, and I've been cooking a lot more in the kitchen. It's really not that difficult to make your own bread. I make peanut butter cookies for the wife, low carb, low sugar, no sugar at all, but low carb. Chocolate chip cookies for myself. Um, we make our own pizza crust. I make our own pizzas. And Tom, like I said, everything we eat in this house, we cook it ourselves and make it ourselves. So we know exactly what's in it. And I don't think I felt any better. I have to go back maybe 40 years since I felt this good health wise. It
Wow.
makes a difference when you eat fresh food, you cook it yourself. We buy nothing that's processed. There's nothing between meat, dairy, eggs, vegetables. That's it. Everything else in all those aisles up in there, bread, crackers, cookies, cakes, all that stuff we cut out, Tom. And like I said, when you eat better food, better quality food, you feel it. It doesn't take long for your 80% of your immune system is your gut biome. So what
Agreed.
happens to the digestive system dictates what happens to the rest of your body. Your liver, your kidneys, um, and when you overload it with sugar and salt and a bunch of chemicals, all this takes a toll on your body. When you're younger, Tom, your body can deal with it. The older you get, the more broke down your body's going to become. And when you get older, if you haven't taken care of your body when you was younger, it becomes 10 times harder to turn things around to get your body into decent shape so you can live longer. But if you don't do it, Tom, you're going to die an early death.
It requires some research, it requires some discipline, and quite frankly, you have to go out of your way and be inconvenienced to eat healthy.
Well, Tom, let's table this to next week, and I will have some more resources available that we can provide where to go to get some information, and we can make that one of the segments of the show. We talk
Okay.
about nutrition and health.
All right, we're about halfway through. I want to acknowledge cousin Audrey K, who is on the chat line. I want to thank her for joining us. One of our most loyal fans. Want to thank and appreciate what she does in terms of supporting the show as well. With that being said, let's go ahead and go to our next story, Jimmy. What's going on with Tiger? I mean, I know he's had some run-ins with the law in the past. Of course, there was of course, the vaulted Tiger Woods. If probably the most dynamic golf player of all times in the history of the sport. But Jimmy, we've got to talk about what's been going on because we know he's had a few DUI issues in the past, and it looks like he's had another issue where there was a DUI incident, Jimmy, and unfortunately there was a pretty ugly car wreck that he was involved with. That I'm just glad that physically he's okay.
Tom, Tiger Woods is like Bill Cosby to me. When people start coming out accusing him of rape, it wasn't until the number got up to about maybe 15 or 20 that the foundation was cracked for me. And I was starting to think that my hero, Bill Cosby, may be sick and demented and actually doing what the women accused him of doing. And certainly got to 30, 40, 50. It was okay. I just had to drop Bill. I have the same admiration for what Tiger's done for golf, for as a black person or a half black person or a mixed person, however you want to
I
call
think he
himself.
called himself Kablasian.
And but Tom, I don't want to see Tiger Woods and his legacy and what he's done for golf and sports be tarnished by him going to jail. But the reality is reality. If he doesn't get this under control and turn things around, so far he's only injured himself. But you know how this goes with people who drink and drive, who do drugs and drive, people who are under the influence and drive, no matter what it is. Eventually, he's going to hurt someone or potentially kill someone. And they're going to be forced to lock Tiger Woods up. That'll be a shame for his legacy. So I hope that because I know this has happened a couple of times. It's gonna be hard to go back into court and ask for some kind of leniency or ask a judge to give you a tap on the wrist when you've gotten a couple of taps on the wrist before because you're Tiger Woods and nothing's changed. You're still drinking and driving and doing drugs and driving, still turning over cars, and you're a danger. Tiger's a billionaire. I mean, man, call an Uber. You hire a driver for someone to take you around, that's the case, put you in the back seat, and that you over there with a billy club because you drank too much or did too many drugs and take you home, at least you're going to get home safely without injuring someone else. Getting behind the wheel and trying to drive yourself when you know you have this past history, Tom, you can't be trusted by driving. I hope that if the driver's license is suspended, and I don't want to see him go to jail because I don't think that's going to serve any benefit other than to tarnish his image. But I hope if he is given another chance, that he takes his chance seriously, Tom, and the people around him say enough is enough. Just go out, man, hire him a goddamn driver, give him a memo, and just ride around in style. Ride around with someone driving you that you can't trust and keep you.
I would agree, Jimmy. I mean, this is unfortunate. You're right. I think Tiger's worth about 1.3 billion, probably at the conservative end. He has completely revolutionized the golfing sport. He is loved by most people. I can't say absolutely everybody, but he's loved by most people. Of course, he's had a few challenges in the past. Of course, with the DUI, of course, with the situation with his wife and the divorce, and a couple of other things that we'll leave unmentioned here. But I mean, when you have to look at someone, when you look at someone at this high of a level, you are a brand, you are a business, you are an
Yeah.
enterprise. I mean, him just showing up at a golf tournament brings in God knows how much additional revenue than not having him would have. And to your point, there's nothing wrong with having a drink. Or as Eddie King Jr. say, just because I have a couple of drinks, now I'm an alcoholic. But, if you're going to do that, go ahead and to your point, Jimmy, get a driver. You got enough money and wealth to have you to drive around. Do not put yourself in harm's way. Do not put other people in harm's way. And quite frankly, the image and the example that you set for a future generation of young people, potential golfers, young men, you just don't want to continue to play with that. Eventually, hopefully, you get some help, get yourself clean, and you can go ahead and keep a low profile for a while because, quite frankly, there are people who have done much worse things, who've gotten second, third, fourth, and 9 lives, but he's not those people, Jimmy. So I'm hoping that whatever it is that he is trying to self-medicate with, because a lot of people self-medicate with alcohol and or drugs, he can figure out, resolve, and get over it. Quite frankly, Jimmy, I kind of liken this to Mike Tyson. I don't think Tiger was really ever the same after his father passed.
Right.
I mean, obviously he was still brilliant. He was still at the top of his golf game, but there's something about when his father passed that I don't think has ever been resolved. It's just like with when he passed, I don't think
His name was Mike Tyson,
Mike
yes.
ever really right after coming. If that's the same thing with Tiger as well with his
I
father passing.
agree. He may not be where he is now, Tom, health-wise, if his father was still alive.
I would agree.
Because, Tiger was in to take care of his body. I mean, he was, for a golfer, I mean, he was pretty much a phenomenon of for his body-wise and strength-wise as a golfer. And what he did for that sport, Tom, he made it popular. I mean, golf was something most people ignored it. Only a few people really liked it. But when Tiger took over the sport, a lot of people got interested in golf who normally wouldn't have because of him. So he was a huge impact on the whole sport as a whole. And like I said, I would hate to see that legacy tarnished over this. So Tiger needs to get it together. The people around him, I think he has a couple of kids. He has a new love interest now. Yeah, I'm sure he has and PR people. You know, all of you folks need to come together, do an intervention, and say, "Hey, enough is enough, Tiger. You got to turn over the keys, clip your license up, turn it in. You may get out of this situation. I'm not sure. I don't think the judge is going to give him jail time, although if it was me and you, if this number is 2 or 3 DUIs, yeah, we'd be looking at by the third strike, we'd be looking at the jail time, or at least a suspended license. So I think at the very least, he may have his license suspended, which may be a good thing, and they just take the keys away from him and get him a driver.
I would agree, Jimmy, because what you don't want to happen is you go out there, you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, you've had a little bit too much, and you hurt or kill somebody else. And I don't know
Uh,
that you ever really live that down if you're in an accident and somebody actually dies, whether it's somebody else or you, God forbid. And quite frankly, Jimmy, regardless of his wealth, regardless of his prestige, regardless of his privilege of being a golf god, he is not he does not have the privilege of some other folks because he has been kissed by nature's son, and he is going to get a lot more attention than other folks get because he has been kissed by nature's son. So you have got to look, you've got to come outside of yourself, and this is the message to young brothers and young sisters out there. You have got to look at yourself as a brand, as an enterprise, and think far ahead of what you're doing today and how that may impact your future, and not just your future, your family as well, because it's not just you that you're potentially damaging, it's the other people who are associated with you as well that come down.
well, Tom, the other thing that he needs to think about, and the people around him need to think about, Tiger doesn't actually live in a subdivision of middle-class people.
No,
Doesn't do it. I mean, where he lives are all high-end billionaire class that lives in those areas. And if you were to hit and kill, and most of those are going to be white people, let's just face it, they're not going to look like him. But if you were to hit and kill one of those people out there, your life is over with. Tiger or no Tiger, you'd be off of jail, it'd be all over with. So if for the folks around him, like Nike and other uh, sponsors who want to continue to make money off Tiger, yeah, it's time for y'all to take and lock him down.
yeah, because I mean, it's not just about him. It's about the sport. It's about the legacy that he leaves. And again, unfortunately, Jimmy, when other folks do things, it kind of goes away. But when certain folks do certain things, it seems to it seems to carry them for the rest of their life. It isn't just Tiger. It's Tiger to this or Tiger to that. It's Bill Cosby to this or Bill Cosby to that. It's Michael Vick this and or Michael. It's Mike Tyson to this or to that. Some people are able to get rid of the things that follow them, but unfortunately, for a lot of brothers, it carries with them for the rest of their life, and I just don't want that for Tiger.
Well, Tom, if any of Tiger Woods people are watching the show, give me a call, DJR Stewart. I'll tell you how to deal with every one of those situations. If those celebrities that just called me up before they got in serious trouble, I would have told them how to turn things around. And will reshape their image. It's still not too late for Tiger. If I was handling Tiger, I would personally take care of myself. I go hire him a driver. I give him a billy club. They're like, hey, if he gets belligerent and don't want to cooperate, you take this club, hit him over the head. We can deal with a concussion. We can deal with medical issue, but under no circumstance is he to get behind the wheel and drive. So whatever we have to pay you or a bodyguard or a couple of people to deal with it is what it's going to take. But yeah, I just wouldn't let him ever drive a car again, Tom. So I know how to deal with this. You can still go out and party, you can still do your drugs, you can still do your alcohol, but I would make sure at the end of the day you got home safely, you got tucked in, and that you'll be okay. And Nike can send a Nike check to protect their brand, to protect his brand if he can.
Brand management at its finest. There we go.
Yeah,
All right.
brand manager and PR manager. Just one big check. I do both jobs. I take care of it.
All right, let's go to our next story now. Let's go a little bit further north in D.C. It looked like there's some interesting things going on out in D.C. You got a bunch of kids out there who are, I don't know if you want to call having it fun, but there seems to be what we call some teen takeovers in the D.C. area that are becoming a little bit more regular, Jimmy. And I'm kind of curious as to what this is all about.
So, Tom, this is not just in DC. It's happening in a lot of cities. It just seems as the latest one that to make the news here lately. And I think the city is going to impose. They had a curfew at 10 o'clock imposed or 11 o'clock, and I think they're going to go back to it. They lifted it for a while, and of course this happened. So I think the city council is going to go back and reimpose a curfew. So, Tom, this is getting absolutely ridiculous. We talked about what happened down in Houston not that long ago.
Yep.
Even though when these get-togethers happen, the crowds are thoroughly mixed with white and black kids, Hispanic kids, Asian kids. But when it comes to the fighting and the shooting, it seems to be all our people, all our kids doing the fighting. Where others are just watching and running, want to be around the excitement, but not necessarily involved in it. And Tom, this is becoming a national embarrassment now. So we talked about a little bit how people were embarrassed about what happened down in Houston. It got so bad they had to impose a dress code. And these kids are coming to that event and fights are breaking out. People are being hurt, not from the fighting, but just from running away from the fight. The police haven't come in, and Tom, our kids are being are really growing up out of control. And we have to, at some point, make up our mind, and I say we, I'm talking about black people now, whether we're going to be decent people who focus on educating our kids, educating ourselves, being the best possible version of ourselves that we can be, or we're going to continue to feed into this, for lack of words, it's not sacred to me, but for people that have virgin ears, we want to cover your ears. All this nigger thing, and this nigger culture, and this nigger way of living. We absolutely have to stop it, Tom. I'm so sick of young men wanting to be thugs and gangsters and want to be. They don't want to work. They don't want to be responsible. Don't want to lead. And all our women, the young girls walking around talking to be want to be a top B or a bottom B or a bad B or a boss B. All this whole and calling each other the B word. Tom, it has to stop. I mean, this kind of nigger thinking it absolutely has to stop. You know what? It is not about white or black or about color anymore. Decent people don't want to be around indecent people. Educated people don't want to be around uneducated people. Reasonable people who are responsible, who do the right thing, don't want to be around ignorant fools. It's just a dichotomy whether you want to be on a decent track and be a good human being, or you want to be a foul human being. And decent people don't want to be around foul people. I don't care what color you are, white, black, red, brown, yellow. If you're foul, you're foul. If you're a decent person, trying to do the right thing, get through life, and be responsible, be respectful, then you don't have a problem getting along with people. Other people don't mind being around you. But when you're out here trying to act a fool, trying to show how bad you are, and be a gangster and a thug, and a boss B, and a bad B, and a top B, and call each other hoes, I mean, come on. At some point, you have to understand that nobody wants to be around that. These are people who do not want to be around that. And you can act all godly if you want in church on Sunday, and then get out and act a fool the rest of the week, and then thinking people don't want to be around you out of racism. But it's not racism at all. Sometimes they just don't want to be around you. And sometimes they don't want to be around decent people because other people can't distinguish between a good black person, a decent black person, and an ignorant black person. They may just group all of you into one category and just say it's easy enough, or just stay away from black people. So I don't know what the answer is, Tom. I mean, it's going to get to the point where you're going to see signs that say no blacks allowed, because we can't figure out who the decent ones are and who the undecent ones are. So maybe it'd be easier to just separate from all of them. We have an apartheid system and just stay away from all black people in order so we can have a decent opportunity to raise our children and not be exposed to certain things.
Well, I don't think that defiance, ignorance, stupidity, or whatever we want to call it, has a particular color. Because I think folks of
Definitely.
I think folks of all ethnicities illustrate and express it to a certain degree. It's just that usually because we don't control mass media, it's controlled by a very small, narrow group of people that they can take control of the narrative for a particular culture of people, whether it be ethnic groups, whether it be different colors or races and things of that nature. One thing that we can also probably count on is that the youth will always usually express their defiance to what is considered to be proper behavior. Not all of them, but whether you're talking about what was going on in the early 20th century when you talk about the evolution of jazz, and probably the great grandparents were talking about we're going to hell in a handbag. They're dancing to this devil music, this jazz stuff called devil music. They need to come to the gospel of the church. Or if we look at the 60s and 70s when they came out with R&B music and they came out with these mini skirts and these big afros, and they were expressing their defiance to the conservative culture. You can count on young people to be defiant. You can count on young people to protest, and then they start having families or just having babies and having children, and then they actually begin to basically rewire their brains because they have additional responsibilities. But to your point, Jimmy, to me it comes down to values and culture. So when you talk about rich people not wanting to be around poor people, people of one ethnic group not wanting to be around another ethnic group, I think it comes down to values and or culture. When I say values, what are your beliefs? What do you believe is important? And wanting to be around people that are similar to me in concept in terms of what I believe in, because I think you can have a rich and poor people. They may not live in the same neighborhood, but they could potentially have different values. And when you talk about different ethnic groups, different cultures, there may be some alignment there. For instance, you have this gumbo in corporate climates across the country where you have people who are Indian, Asian, African, American, Caucasian, or whatever the case is, and they may have different household environments. They may have different backgrounds, but they align with a certain culture to achieve certain things. But to your point earlier today, I think that these young people, one, are probably doing what young people have done for decades upon decades. And yeah, there is probably a smaller population of these young folks who are going to probably go afoul, who are going to end up in jail, who are going to end up in the morgue. And I see two things. Young people have always, to a certain degree, with a few exceptions, tried to earn respect and try to fit in so that they could be accepted as opposed to being isolated. And if you add on top of that this thing called social media, where they can connect with not just a few, but tens to hundreds to possibly thousands of young people in order to protest, in order to coordinate what we might call diversive activity, is going to happen eventually.
Well, Tom, this is rebellion or rejection of society norms on steroids. So when our grandparents and great grandparents went through their phases, nobody got hurt. So you had some social rebellion with the music, breaking away from the church. But for the most part, people still had a certain level of decorum where decency still was a dictate. Now decency is just thrown out the window. You know, my grandmother would not ever in her lifetime walk around with her ass hanging out, all her breasts hanging out. Um, Even having children out of wedlock was frowned upon. So much so that if you were a woman who had a baby, a child out of wedlock, you had to leave. You had to go somewhere, go live with another relative. You had to come back. You can come back years later, and you can claim that your husband died in the war, or your husband, you're a widower now. You know that the father is dead, um, rather than admit that you're a single mother. Now, there's nothing. I mean, baby mama is a new term. It didn't exist back in my great grandparents. You know, it would be much of an embarrassment on the family to be a baby mama. But now, it's a badge of honor to be a baby mama. And nobody even called me baby mama or even a, a baby daddy. You know, so things have changed time, and like I said, the stupidity level, the ignorance level has just increased tenfold. People are not getting hurt. You know, you talk about destruction of property. Um, they're going to places of businesses and losing, and it's just overwhelming them with numbers. I mean, this is craziness. I'm gonna say one more thing, Tom, before people think this is about color, because it's not. You have the Somalis, which you've heard about being grifters for the buildings that they far the country out of in Minnesota, Maine, and Ohio. And one of the reasons that white folks who are out there in 10 degrees below zero temperatures stand up for these people, taking bullets for them, losing their life, going to jail to defend the Somalians, because the Somalians, Tom, don't identify with being black. They don't identify with being African American or black culture at all. In fact, they say they're not black. They're dark skinned Caucasian. That's how they identify themselves. You don't believe it? I think I'll get a
Jimmy,
clip for
that,
you. Yeah, they
that Jimmy,
identify. They say they're dark and Caucasian because that's what the white folks told them when they came to Somalia from Europe, and they adopt the Arab culture. They eat the Arab food. Hell, they don't even identify with other Africans. They happen to be in Africa, but they identify more as Middle Easterners with white folks than they do with Africans or black people here in America.
now,
And white folks love them to death as a result of that. White folks go out there in the cold weather and protect them against ICE, against deportation. Um, but I don't see white folks dying for black people here in America. They look at black people and all they see is a potentially thief, somebody's going to harm them, a parasite, and someone who's like I said, they wouldn't let us steal billions of dollars and get away with it. But the Somalians, oh yeah, they can grip and steal billions of dollars all they want because these are folks who identify with them as being white.
now, these are the same Somalians that they were alleging was eating the ducks and they were trying to get rid of.
Some Trump administration was trying to get rid of it. Yes, some of the
He
same
was here.
duck eating,
He was here. They're eating the ducks. They were trying to get rid of the
some
Somalians.
of those
They were
same
eating
duck
the
eating, but
duck.
we know that the duck they're eating now is not the ducks out of the park. They eat duck at the restaurants for all the money, the billions of dollars they drifted off of us, uh, and been allowed to steal. And people, the governor, the mayors, all these officials are looking the other way. White folks out there trying to keep ICE from arresting them and deporting them. Like I said, white folks out there in 10 degrees below zero and then 40 degrees below zero when the wind blows, defending and standing up for Somalians.
Well,
Once again,
I
because
will say
they
this.
totally reject black culture in America. So it's
I
not
will
about
say
skin
this
color.
much, Jim. Say this much. Good luck to the Somalians, white folks, because the longer they stay in this country, they will be accepted by white folks as dark-skinned white people.
Some, they accepted Minnesota and Maine as dark skinned white people. White folks love them up there. And how in the hell in sub Saharan Africa, where Somalia is located,